The text from my neighbor, Sid, came in at 7:52 in the morning, 40 minutes after I pulled out of my driveway, heading north on I-71. I almost let it go. The cruise control was set at 68. I had a thermos of coffee wedged between the seat and the center console, a couple of audiobooks queued up, and about 2.5 hours of highway between me and Cleveland, where my brother was recovering from a hip replacement and needed someone there to stop him from doing something stupid like trying to haul laundry up a flight of stairs on his own. I had planned on being gone a week. But Sid doesn't text me for small things. He never has. We've been neighbors for 23 years. We've nodded across the property line 10,000 times, helped each other out with weather emergencies and blown fuses and the occasional tree that came down across the wrong yard. But he is not a man who reaches out unless something needs reaching. He once went 2 full months without saying a single word to me, and I respected him for it. The message was 4 words. Call me right now. I took the next exit and sat in the parking lot of a BP station with the engine running. He picked up before the second ring. Marvin, he said. No hello. Your daughter's car is in your driveway. There's another vehicle I don't recognize parked on the street. I saw 2 people carry a box out of your garage about 15 minutes ago. I didn't say anything for a moment. I'm pulling up the cameras, I said. Don't come back yet, Sid said. I'll keep watching. I opened the Security app on my phone. I installed the system myself 3 years ago. 6 cameras, motion detection, cloud storage, the whole setup. Not because I was paranoid. I spent 37 years working financial crimes for IRS criminal investigation, and at some point you stop assuming that things are fine and start verifying. It's not a worldview. It's just a habit that gets so deep into the bone you stop noticing it. The living room camera loaded first. My daughter was standing in the middle of my living room in jeans and a gray sweatshirt, her hair pulled back. She had a cardboard banker's box, the kind I used to fill with seized documents during audit raids, open on my coffee table. She was going through my mail, not glancing, reading. My son-in-law came in from the hallway carrying a second box. He set it beside the first and said something. I fumbled with the audio. Statements are what Foss needs, brokerage accounts, routing numbers. He said your father prints everything. My daughter answered without looking up. He does, always has. We have time, she said. He just left. He won't turn around for anything short of a natural disaster. She was wrong about that, but she didn't know it yet. My name is Marvin Reed. I'm 67 years old. I spent the better part of my adult life chasing financial fraud for the federal government. Tax shelters, offshore schemes, fake charities, wire fraud, the entire catalog of what people will do when they want money that isn't theirs. By the time I was 40, I understood the mechanics of it. What I did not expect, sitting in a BP parking lot on a Tuesday morning in October, was to become one of the people in the case file. My wife Lois passed 3 years ago. Cancer, the quiet kind, the kind that does most of its work before it introduces itself. She was an accountant for 30 years. Practical and sharp, with a way of understanding both numbers and people that never seemed like effort. She had spent her whole life paying attention to the things that other people walked past. I kept watching the camera. My son-in-law had found the cabinet above the refrigerator, Lois's cabinet. She kept her recipe cards there, over 300 of them, collected over 4 decades. Handwritten, almost everyone. She had her grandmother's bread recipe on a card so old and soft at the edges it was nearly translucent. She had recipes from friends who had moved away, from restaurants she had loved, from a cooking class we took together in San Francisco on our 35th anniversary. Both of us laughing at being in a room full of people half our age. She had cards written by women who were gone now, handwriting that existed nowhere else in the world. I watched my son-in-law pull the whole stack out, rifle through it in 4 seconds like he was looking for a takeout menu, and put it back wrong. Half the cards stuck out at uneven angles. One fell to the counter, and he didn't pick it up. He just moved on. Something settled behind my eyes, cold, quiet, focused. I called Saul. Sol Wiener was a criminal defense attorney I'd crossed paths with 20 years ago during a case where we'd thinned up on the side, and somewhere along the way he'd become the person I called when the situation required thinking clearly and acting precisely. He was 72, still practicing, and had a memory for legal procedure that bordered on a diagnosable condition. He answered on the first ring. Marvin. Saul, the contingency plan. A pause. How bad? I'm watching my daughter go through my filing cabinet on a live camera feed from a gas station parking lot. My son-in-law is with her. At least one other person involved. Where are you physically? BP station just south of Mason on 71. Go to the Marriott off Fields Hotel Road. Pay cash. Don't use your name if you can avoid it. I'm calling my contact at the Cincinnati field office right now. Don't go home. Don't confront anyone until I call you back. I drove to the Marriott and paid cash for one night. Got a room on the second floor facing the parking lot. Old habits, I like to see the exits. The room smelled like two cleaning products fighting each other. I set my laptop on the desk, connected to my VPN, and pulled up all 6 camera feeds. Before I go any further, if this story means something to you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I share these stories because I believe the truth is always worth telling, no matter how long it takes. Now let me keep going. The third man arrived at 20 past 10. Silver Audi parked on the street, walked to my front door like he was expected. Because he was. He was around 50, gray at the temples, sport coat that probably cost more than my first mortgage payment. He had a particular walk, the walk of a man who owns the rooms he enters. I zoomed in and turned up the audio. Foss, my son-in-law said when he opened the door. So that was his name. Foss came inside and did a quick inventory of my living room, the furniture, the art, the bookshelves, the way an appraiser does it, not out of appreciation but out of calculation. He set a briefcase on my dining table and opened it. He pulled out a document. I had this drawn up this morning, he said. Power of attorney. If you get his signature on it, and we do this correctly, we set it up right, I can have access to the Fidelity account within 72 hours. My daughter picked it up and read it. She read it for a long time, longer than someone fully committed would read it. What do we tell him it is? She asked. Healthcare directive. Tell him you want it in place, in case anything happens while he's up in Cleveland. That it's a precaution, that you're worried about him. He's going to ask questions, she said. He spent his whole career in financial crimes enforcement. He reads everything. Foss looked at her evenly. He's a retiree living alone in a 4-bedroom house worrying about his brother's hip surgery. He's not on the job anymore. My daughter set the document down without signing it. Not yet, I thought, but she didn't say no. Sol called me back at 11:15. His name is Denton Foss, Sol said. Private lending operation out of a Delaware LLC, not licensed to operate in Ohio. Your son-in-law borrowed $350,000 from him last April. Foss believed your son-in-law when he said you had verbally agreed to guarantee the loan. I breathed in, breathed out. The note came due September 1st, Sol continued. Your son-in-law missed it. There's a secondary issue. Foss has documented irregularities in a real estate transaction from 2022, the kind of documentation that becomes a criminal referral if he decides he's not getting paid. So that was the shape of it. My son-in-law had borrowed money against my name without my knowledge, and when the bill came due, he and my daughter decided the simplest solution was to reach into what they thought I had. I sat with that for a while in the motel room. There was a part of me, the father part, the part that remembered driving my daughter to kindergarten and watching her walk toward the building in her little red coat, turning back once to wave, that wanted to find a different explanation. That part had been looking for a different explanation for a while. Longer than I'd admitted. I was done looking. How long do you need? I asked Sol. 2 hours minimum. Can you stall? I was a federal agent for 37 years, I said. I can stall. My daughter called me at 12:40. I was eating a vending machine sandwich and watching Foss pace my living room on camera, picking up things that weren't his. I let it ring twice, then answered. Hey, sweetheart, a man who'd been driving, tired, not thinking about much. Dad, hey, are you past Columbus yet? Just coming up on it. Traffic's not bad. Good, good. A pause she'd rehearsed. You know what, this might sound crazy, but I could drive up to Cleveland. Help with Uncle Roy. Keep you company. There it was. You don't need to do that, I said. It's a long drive. I just want to see you, she said. Tell you what, I said. I forgot my blood pressure prescription on the kitchen counter. I'm going to swing back and grab it on my way up. I'll see you in a couple hours. The silence before she answered had a shape to it. Of course, I'll be here. I drove slowly, stopped at a Kroger, and walked every aisle without any particular destination, giving Sol his 2 hours. I pulled onto my street at 2:15. Foss's Audi was gone. I'd watched him leave at 1:30 on the camera. He was letting them handle the approach. I parked in my own driveway and sat for a moment. The house looked exactly the same from the outside. The oak tree in the front yard was the same one that had been there when Lois and I moved in. Everything where I'd left it. My daughter opened the door before I knocked and hugged me, and I let her, and I held that for exactly as long as it needed to be. The inside had been put back, mostly. They'd been careful. But the cabinet above the refrigerator was open a half-inch, and the mail on the hall table had been restacked just slightly wrong. These are the kinds of details most people walk past. I spent my career not walking past them. "Your husband here?" I asked, setting the grocery bag on the counter. "Picking up dinner. Back soon." "Good." I started unpacking slowly, my back to her, cabinets open. I was looking for the extra coffee filters. "They're here," I said, opening the cabinet next to the stove, where they had always been. I turned around. The recipe cards were in a pile on the counter. She'd put them back, but wrong. Lois organized them by season, by meal, by occasion. The Christmas cinnamon roll card was sitting on top of a stack that was supposed to be summer salads. I started sorting them, one card at a time. "These were the last things she asked me to take care of," I said. I wasn't performing it. I was just saying it. 3 days before she died, she said, "These are the things that don't exist anywhere else in the world. Every card in here is someone's handwriting. Most of those people are gone." My daughter was quiet. "There's a woman from our church, Mrs. Calloway. She passed in 2019. She gave your mother her sweet potato casserole recipe at a potluck dinner in 1998. I found the card and held it up. This is her handwriting. Once this card is gone, she's gone twice." My daughter's voice came out smaller than I'd heard it in years. "Dad." "I know about Denton Foss," I said. "I know about the $350,000. I know about the power of attorney he had drawn up this morning. I know your husband borrowed against my name without asking me." I set the recipe cards down on the counter gently. "I've known since 9 o'clock this morning." The front door opened. My son-in-law came in carrying takeout bags, stopped in the hallway, read the room in about 2 seconds, and set the bags on the floor. I walked to the office. They followed. I moved the bookshelf myself and punched in the combination. The door swung open. My daughter leaned in. I watched her eyes move across the interior of the safe. 2 things inside. A letter, 3 pages, in Lois's careful handwriting, dated 11 days before she died, and a crayon drawing on construction paper, folded soft at the creases from being opened and closed over many years. 2 stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun with a smiley face, one labeled Daddy, one labeled M.E. In the corner, in uneven 7-year-old printing, "My daddy is the best." My daughter made a sound I'm not going to try to put into words. "Where are the accounts?" she said. Not a question anymore. More like a realization arriving. "Everything your mother and I built over 40 years went into an irrevocable trust before she died," I said. "The Lois Reed Children's Education Trust. The beneficiary is the Cincinnati Public Schools Scholarship Endowment. I'm the trustee. I can live here. I can draw a modest income from it. That's all. I cannot sell. I cannot transfer. No power of attorney touches a single dollar of it." My son-in-law put his back against the wall. "She set it up because she loved you," I said to my daughter. "Not because she expected exactly this. But she knew you made big, expensive mistakes, and she didn't want the thing we'd spent our lives building to be the thing that got destroyed in the crossfire. She was protecting you from yourself. She was doing it the whole time, and you didn't even know." The doorbell rang. Saul was on the front step. Behind him were 2 agents from the field office, both of whom I'd worked with years ago, and one I didn't recognize. My son-in-law went without making it difficult. He was a man who had been running toward this wall for a long time, and I think some part of him was relieved to finally hit it. My daughter looked at me across the length of my living room as they walked her out. I looked back. I didn't look away. After everyone was gone, Saul sat with me for an hour at the kitchen table, explaining what the next weeks would look like. The charges, Foss's likely cooperation in exchange for reduced exposure, the timeline of proceedings. I listened, asked what I needed to ask. thanked him, and walked him to the door. Then I went back to the kitchen and finished putting the recipe cards away. Every card in its right place, every season in its right order. Mrs. Calloway's sweet potato casserole back where it belonged. I made dinner. Chicken, potatoes, nothing complicated. I ate at the kitchen table facing the back window, where the late afternoon light comes through at an angle Lois always said was the best part of the house. After I ate, I went to the office and took the crayon drawing out of the safe. My daddy is the best. I sat with it for a while in the quiet. I thought about the kid who drew that. I thought about where she'd gone and what road had taken her there, and whether there was a turn somewhere I'd missed, some fork in the road I could have seen if I'd been paying a different kind of attention. I spent my career understanding how people convince themselves that what they're doing is justified. The sliding scale of small compromises. The way a person can arrive at a terrible place one reasonable-seeming step at a time, each step feeling necessary, each step moving them just a little further from who they started out as. I did not put the drawing back in the safe. I folded it along the old creases and put it in the breast pocket of my jacket, next to where I carry the photograph of Lois I've kept on me since the week she died. Some things you don't store, some things you carry. I called my brother and told him I'd been delayed by something at home, and I'd be there by noon tomorrow. He started to ask questions, and I told him I was fine, and that I'd explain when I got there. "You sound tired, Marvin," he said. "I've had a long day," I said. "I'll be there tomorrow. Don't try to carry anything up the stairs tonight." I sat up for a while after that in the back room where the evening light comes in. Lois used to sit there with a book after dinner. I'd left that chair for her for 3 years out of habit, not wanting to take what felt like her spot. But I sat in it that night. I didn't read anything. I just sat in the light and let the house be quiet around me. The thing about financial fraud, what I learned in nearly 4 decades of it, is that it's always about the same thing underneath, not just greed. It's about the gap between what someone has and what they believe they deserve, and the decisions some people make to close that gap by reaching into someone else's life and taking from it. I've watched that decision be made by strangers. I've watched it in interrogation rooms across a metal table. I understand every step of the reasoning. I did not expect to watch it happen in my own kitchen. But I'm still here. The recipes are in the cabinet where Lois kept them. The trust she built is intact. The light comes through the back window at the same angle it always has, hitting the same worn corner of the table where we ate 10,000 dinners together. I'll be on the road by 8 tomorrow. My brother needs help getting out of his recliner, and he needs someone there to tell him he's going to be fine, even when he doesn't quite believe it yet. That's what you do for the people who are still there. You show up. You stay. If this story stayed with you, please like the video and subscribe. I share these things because I believe the truth matters, even when it's hard to say out loud. And I want to know what you think. If you were in my position, would you have told your daughter about the trust from the beginning? Or would you have let them open that safe and find it for themselves? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every single one.